Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Crush That Exam. My name is Dr. Erica Liggins, licensed clinical psychologist and founder and CEO of Crush That Exam. I'm excited to share with you yet another success story of someone who has overcome the EPPP. So, can you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Rita Copeland. I'm a psychologist and I currently work at Napa State Hospital doing competency evaluations and assessments in the competency restoration training. I'm also a part-time professor at the Chicago School and Delaware State University.
Fantastic, keeping yourself busy.
Yes.
Sure. And we'll get into that too about like how did you balance it all because it's a lot to carry. So please tell everyone, what was your EPPP experience like prior to working with me?
Okay, so I started my EPPP journey in 2020. I want to say maybe right, well, like when the pandemic started. So like a little bit after, so maybe like March or April 2020. And I studied from March or April 2020 all the way up until I want to say like August 2020. I was really ready to take the test. I felt that as though I was ready to take the test in August 2020, but it was the pandemic and all the testing sites were limited. So I had to wait until October of 2020 to take the test. So after August, I kind of like stopped studying as frequently because I felt like I was ready. And I did sit for the exam in October 2020 and I did not pass.
Gotcha. So you were balancing whole pandemic, all of these things, trying to figure this thing out. And that must have been really difficult to feel like you were ready and then not have gotten the result that you were looking for.
Absolutely. I didn't know what to do. I kind of was like, where do I go from where do I go now? I contacted the prep site that I was using at the time. I found you through some Facebook probably groups. And I was just trying to figure out like how do I move forward? How do I start this process all over again? What should I do? I was like so in disbelief. I didn't know what to do at that point.
I know I call it like when people are, I call it, it's like they're out in the wilderness, like lost, confused, overwhelmed, distraught. It's a very difficult place to be in. And so you found me online. Now, what made you decide to go with my program maybe over others?
Well, I I didn't really know of anybody else. Like I was new to
Hmm.
it. And I just
Mhm.
saw a few posts saying that you were a coach and that you help people get through it. So at that time I needed like motivation. So even when I started to meet with you, I stopped studying altogether. I don't know if you remember that because this was back in 2020. I was like so defeated. I got depressed. I was like I didn't know what to do. So I did continue to book with you for at least like several months just for the motivation piece, just to like, I'm still in there, I'm still talking about it. And you were mainly helping me at that time with like managing like my anxiety, trying to get to even start to study again.
Yes.
I was
Mhm.
also in therapy at the time. My therapist was helping as well, but you were more like because you were focusing on the EPPP, you were like the little voice in the back of my head, like I can do it, I need to do it type of thing. And I continued to book with you just to so that I could not avoid it completely. I was avoiding it like on my own just by not studying, but I still booked my sessions with you just so that I won't completely avoid the situation.
Thank you for sharing that because this, and also just for point of reference, it's fall 2024 at the time that we are recording this. And you started this process in 2020. So it's been some time. And I think that's really important for people to know because when you're out there, again, in the wilderness by yourself, figuring this out, it emotionally feels like everybody else is just sailing through. But that's not the case. Your story is actually quite common. There's many people out here who have been through exactly what you've been through. And so by the time they get to coaching, this process is beating them down and they're lost and they don't know what to do. And it's not always getting right back into studying right away. I tell people sometimes coaching is about getting you ready for studying and helping you
Absolutely.
to rebuild confidence, reframe your thinking. The avoidance is a really strong thing that can take a hold of a person. And so the first time we worked together, we were working on that. And so during our work together, which kind of went in waves, right? We might work together for a period of time, then sometimes life stress and different things would come up. And then you kind of take a step back and then come back. And again, that also sometimes happens for people too. So when you look back at all of it, what do you think were the top three things about this coaching program that you think ultimately helped you to get through it?
The accountability. I used you as accountability. Even in 2020, I didn't realize that, but I definitely did. Um, the accountability, the support, and the guidance.
Hmm. Absolutely. And without those things, it just, it's hard to do it, right? That checking in with someone every week or every other week and just having to report to and just having someone there when you feel lost and overwhelmed to just steer you back onto the right path. And I know you were also a very big fan of the Snowball Study Method and found that really helped you to learn the content as well, right?
It really did. I really love that. I appreciate you for doing that. And then I know that you started this because that's what you use. And so I'm glad that you created that.
Yes, and I'm happy to share it with other people because when I didn't have it, and the first couple times I was trying to, first few months I was trying to study, and I didn't have that solid plan, it was a mess. I felt like I was just floating in like the abyss. I had no direction. I was riddled with anxiety. It was terrible. But as soon as I began to develop the snowball method and kind of like basically test it on myself, I was the ultimate guinea pig 'cause but it worked out in the end, and it has been such a joy to teach it to other people and to help people to overcome this exam with it and rebuild their confidence at the same time. It's been really cool. So you came back into working on the EPPP this year, right? And then because you did some work on your own, you kind of started getting back on track, and then you contacted me and you were like, okay, I'm ready to bring this home.
Well, 2022, I came back. I don't remember the month, but I started to work with you again in 2022.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Forgot about that.
Yeah, it's like
Mhm.
we had three waves. This was a long process. So yeah, 2022, I contacted you. I want to say it probably was like September of 2022. But then like a lot of things has happened in that time. Like I had gotten into a new relationship. I was working two, three jobs. So like I was doing a lot at that time. So in the beginning of that stage, you were also helping me managing everything. And then I want to say like maybe in December of 2023, I started to actually like study and use your method.
Yes, and you took your time with it and you chipped away at it and you found a pace that worked, and then we were also resumed working together and we just kind of brought it home. And I think, all of what you had learned from the program in each wave, you were applying new things that you learned each time. And I feel like all the stars aligned for you this year. Like everything came together. Your mindset was in a much better place. I think this is the most hopeful I had ever seen you, like really believing that you could do it. Plus, it felt like life was pretty stable and things were busy but manageable. And then, of course, you had the snowball study method and all the other strategies to just round it all out. And it all came together, which is fantastic.
Definitely, because when I tried in 2023 and I didn't pass, what I feel like helped me was definitely the snowball method. And what harmed me during the test was my time management. So I did study correctly. I did do everything appropriately. It was just my time management. I literally ran out of time. And my anxiety was way better than the first time, but the second time I then was time management. So then I had to overcome both of those, my anxiety and time management.
Yes, and we worked on those things and we brought it home this time. And I think that's also really important for people to know that sometimes working with a coach, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that you will get it the first time because everything that goes into this exam is multifaceted, right? It's the anxiety management, it's the content mastery, it's a lot of different pieces, the test taking skills. And sometimes, people will attempt under a coach and do significantly better. and we see what helped. And then we see, okay, what else do we still need to tweak? And then we get it the next time. And that's exactly what happened here, which is really cool to see it all. It has all came together.
It definitely did. It really did. And also what helped was like you were saying, my life slowed down. And I was able to take time off of my full-time job. And I think that's really what helped me. I took 7 weeks off and I contacted you in my last like 30 days of studying. And just for that support and that guidance and that
Mhm.
accountability. And then even when I contacted you, your program has grown so much. And I really, really enjoyed your study groups. I feel like that also helped me like stay on track, stay focused. I had my own little program designed because I turned the EPPP into my full-time job, but having that space where I could just log on and be on with other people who were taking it and knew what I was going through, that felt good.
Yes, that's really important to talk about because that's something that just started this year, our parallel study sessions. And so when you first worked with me or the first two times, that wasn't a part of the program at that time. But the program is always growing and it's always evolving and trying to be better to further meet the needs of the people who are using it. And so I really appreciated your feedback when you came back and you're like, oh my God, now I'm using all the strategies you taught me. And now you have this additional service to help me even more to stay on track. And, it's quite a bit of pressure you felt, right? Because you did take that leave to focus on this. And, that can that can feel like pressure, right? Because it's like I want to use this time wisely and get it done. And so I was just so happy when you contacted me and told me that you had jump back into studying. You were using the program on your own. And then I came in at the very end just to help you get over the finish line, which is really fun. So when you look back on this whole entire journey, what was the hardest thing that you had to overcome?
The hardest thing was my anxiety, because the first time, like, I literally had a panic attack during the first exam, and then, like I was saying, the second time, I ran out of time, and then but all of that just, like now I'm 2 times I haven't passed, and then I was approaching, like, a deadline, like, needing to pass a test, like, for my job purposes, so it was really, really my anxiety.
Hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that you've experiencing really severe anxiety like that because we need to let people know that lots of people have experienced that. And just because for everybody who's listening, just because you may have had a panic attack or a crying spell or ran out of time, you can come back from that. I know that experience was terrible and was awful, but you can come back from it. All is not lost. And you, as well as other people that I've worked with, are living proof of that. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that people don't think that they're by themselves. Now, anything you think you would do differently if you had to do this all over again?
So for the first time, I don't regret anything because I did study the material. What was beneficial, but I didn't study the right way for myself. And so then when I got you as a coach and you taught me a different way of studying, because I've never studied for something this large with this type of test before, when you gave me the different tools that I needed to approach it, then I felt a little bit more prepared, like I did for last year's exam, but it just was a different obstacle that I ran into. So definitely, I feel like what really helped me this time is like taking time off of work. And I know that everybody can't maybe afford to do it or don't want to do it, whatever the case may be. But I definitely feel like 2 weeks or a little bit more time is needed off of your full-time job.
Mhm.
Even if you work from home or even if it's like not a lot going on at your job, I feel like you need that time to kind of just like focus on yourself, focus on this material, like to get yourself together because that's what really helped me. I feel like if I did not take that time off, I wouldn't have passed. Not that I didn't know the material, but it's just like a lot going on at the time.
The
Like
stress.
where it was a lot, and, like, working a full-time job and then having to come home at 4 or 5 o'clock to study for 2, 3 hours at night, then to get up and, like, still have to cook and, like, life things going on, that was just a lot. So taking my full-time job out of the way for those 7 weeks was very beneficial for me. And if anybody can do it, I would suggest it, at least even if it's just like 2 weeks. Because even last year, my doctor took me off the week before my test because I was just going to keep going, keep going, and keep going. And she was just like, no, your anxiety is to the roof. You need to be off. So she forced me off. And I remembered that. I was like, that really helped, even just a week. So if people can get that a week, 2 weeks,
Anything that
sometime
they can
off work.
do. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially I hear that all the time. People just, again, helpers love to help. Sometimes we forget to care for ourselves and we just think that we're machines and that we can just keep going. And they'll want to work up until sometimes even the day of their exam. I've heard stories like that. And so I tell people minimum, bare minimum, 3 to 7 days off before your exam. You need to be off from work. And in your case, you had multiple jobs too, which I think also kept your anxiety probably always or just general stress level a bit higher because you're balancing two jobs, not just one. And so you did what you needed to do for yourself. And I think that was great. You listened to your inner voice and gave yourself what you needed. So let me ask, if you were to tell someone, what would you tell someone who is like, I don't know, do I need coaching? What's this about? I think I can figure this out. And they're a little skeptical. What would you say?
I would suggest people look into coaching, especially your program, because for me, it really helped with, like I said earlier, like that accountability and that support. I feel like a lot of my friends and family knew that, oh yeah, I have to take this test, but they didn't really understand it. So for to have someone like you who has actually been through it, you're also a psychologist. You also had to battle the things that we're battling, taking this exam. It felt, like, very familiar, it felt comfortable, it was a safe space, like, you knew exactly what I was talking about. Even, like, I've had a therapist, and I would share this with my therapist, but my therapist at the time didn't know anything that I was talking about. Like, they have taken, like, maybe a master's level exam, but it's way different. Right, so having you and you go through the process, I think that's what stands out from other programs is that you went through the process and you are a psychologist, so you can relate to us. And even when we're talking about anxieties, you're like, yeah, I was there. I get that.
Oh, yeah. I
And
remember
you give,
being literally worried sick, literally.
yeah, and you give us the tools in your own experience and how you got through that, right? So just being able to relate, that really helps. Um, I think that's what's beneficial for the coaching program and your program specifically.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. So, last but not least, I'm so excited to say this to you. It's been a long journey, but a good journey and a useful journey. But now that you are free from the EPPP, what's next? What's something professional as well as personal that you're looking forward to?
I've been that for the past few weeks, that's what I've actually been thinking about because I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm really like really done with school now. I'm like, okay, yeah, I graduated in 2018, and then like I started this EPPP process in 2020, but I never really like finished because studying is like another, just
Mhm.
being in school still, like I'm still learning.
Yeah,
So
you don't feel
I'm
done with the
right.
process.
Exactly. So I'm like, now I'm here, like I can really move on with life. So like now I'm starting to look at different career opportunities, like things that I want to do that I haven't been qualified for, one for the past 4 years. And just like I'm gonna start branching off to do different things. Really just career development at this time.
Hmm. The sky really is the limit. And what about on a personal level? Because we gotta have some fun too.
Yes, I love traveling and I did travel during my study periods, but now I'm really going to like live my best life because I would be traveling and bringing my laptop with me and studying here and there on on the plane or when I had a break or something like that. But no, now it's like I get to leave my laptop at home. I don't have to focus on studying. I'm really just going to enjoy my what I consider is my self-care is traveling.
Oh my gosh. What's the next big place that you want to go that you haven't been to yet?
The next big place is I want to go to Africa. Mhm.
You better send some pictures.
Yay.
I had the privilege of going to Senegal a few years ago, and it was a really magical experience. So I hope you get to go visit the motherland. Yeah, so I want to just wish you nothing but amazing adventures, tons of prosperity, and just a deep sense of freedom.
Thank you.